Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Intuitive Wanderess. I'm playing around with the idea of combining my YouTube videos and podcasts and just kind of creating content that goes in both directions. So if you want to hear it through a podcast, then you have that option. But if you want to hear it and see me through YouTube, you can do that as well. So for those who are listening on the podcast, welcome back to another episode. And for those who are watching me on YouTube, welcome back to another episode of The Intuitive Wanderess. So, I have been, I don't even know how to start this. I'm feeling like the last episode. There's just been so much information that's been coming to me, and this is really a message to those who identify as people pleasers, to introverted people, to people who are, according to human design, maybe seen as projectors. This is who I'm resonating with. Those who are considered empaths or highly sensitive people, this is for you. Also, those who are interested in inner work, inner child healing, this may call to your attention as well. And I'm going to give you a little background on where I'm coming from with this. I identify and have identified with a lot of those tags that I just mentioned, and it's never really sat well with me because I'm a true believer that I create my own reality, and if the tags that I'm identifying with don't serve me, then I have the choice to not resonate with them or not connect with them. So if I don't want to be, if I look at introversion or being introverted as a bad thing, then so be it. I'm not introverted. But I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the personality test and Myers-Briggs and human design, a lot of zodiacs, a lot of those things have really helped me see myself better, at least where I'm at right now. And it's also helped me feel seen, experience some validation, so that I can then understand better who I am, how I'm showing up, and how I can use that in my favor rather than feeling disempowered, right? So I have noticed for a very long time that I am that person that everyone enjoys being around because I'm very warm, endearing. I have this beautiful skill of being able to see people and make people feel seen. I also have this ability to anticipate another's needs. And while these are amazing skills, and I think this is what has just been natural to me, things that I've also cultivated and things that just align with my life path, my life journey. Naturally, I'm a psychologist, went to school for psychology. Naturally, I'm a coach. That is what I do now. Naturally, I am a giver, a sharer of knowledge. That is what I'm doing right now. So I do believe that it's my soul's work. But I've really had to understand how those very same things that are my gifts have also been curses for me. The anticipating other people's needs has really been alarming for me because it's just, I'm getting to this point where something feels off about that. Like, I'm anticipating another person's needs, my needs aren't getting met, and it's feeling like an unbalance. And I've tried to understand things. I'm like, well, maybe I'm being too this, or maybe other people are being too much of that. I also have this strong belief that I'm the one with the power. This is my reality, which is why, as the intuitive wanderess, I really speak deeply on learning to trust yourself, learning how to take responsibility and create the life that you want to live. So with that being said, that can hit a tipping scale where it's like too much, because I'm just putting all of this blame on me as if I'm not interacting with people. And some of the ways that I handle it is like overcompensating for someone's lack of awareness, lack of care, lack of whatever. And that hasn't served me. It hasn't served me at all. So when I really look back to just deeper inner work, inner child work, I don't have specific memories where this has happened, but it just resonates in my body. I have been the person who, in order to feel safe as a child, in order to feel loved as a child, I interpreted other people's behavior, their instability. I felt like I had to anticipate it. I had to meet their needs. I had to maintain stability for other people in order to receive the love. Because mom's emotional instability, dad's emotional instability, my siblings' emotional instability, that created their reactionary states, right? So they reacted in ways that felt harsh and I was feeling too sensitive for, and it made me nervous. It made me feel unsafe, because it's like, well, if they're mad at me, then I'm not gonna be loved. If they're upset with me, then I'm not gonna be loved. If they're emotionally unstable and all over the place, how are they gonna love me? So from a very early age, I have perceived the world in a way where I was not allowed to take up space. And I say this delicately because I truly believe that when we're doing inner child work, it's not just about blaming our parents. It's not about blaming our caretakers. It's not about blaming society, the government, whatever. I really do believe that my soul came here with this agenda so that I can fulfill my purpose. In order for me to be the psychologist that I am, in order for me to be the coach that I am, in order for me to be the person who is able to guide and inspire and help others, I had to go through this path. So I just happened to bump paths with a woman who happens to be my mother, who was, in her time, very independent, had gone through so much and had to fight to survive. So I needed to be around that to see that. I needed to be around a brother who is very loving, but he's very emotionally like sharp with what he wants versus what other people need. And I had to be around all of that. I had to be around that. That is what I chose. So to sit here and blame other people never sits right with me. And that becomes an issue for me too, because it's like I try not to blame people, so then I try to overcompensate, like I just said, and I try to take care of everything, and it's like, no, that's not the point either. You're not here to overcompensate. You're not here to blame, but you're also not here to take responsibility in this way. So, being that I, from a very young age, recognize in order for me to have love, in order for me to survive, right, I have to not take up space. I have to meet other people's needs more so than my own. You can only imagine how freaking perfect I have been as a people pleaser, how perfect I have been as being that charming, charismatic person that everyone loves, until they maybe get to know me, or do they ever get to know me? Because I kept certain blocks, I kept certain walls up to protect myself, because in order for me to relate with other people, I already had it in my mind that they weren't going to meet my needs. So I've seen that. I've seen how I've manifested that in my relationships of all kinds, my romantic relationships for sure, in my friend relationships and family relationships. And I'm also a believer that what you do in one thing, you do in all. So when I started to notice it in my romantic relationships, I started to kind of like dissect and check all of my like family ships and friendships, and I was like, ooh, I see it. I see what I'm doing here. But the thing about it is, once I notice, they're not meeting my needs, once I noticed it's not my job to anticipate other people's needs, I realized I didn't know what the fuck my needs were. Because I was so programmed, that habit as a child to survive. So the ego is just gonna go ham. It's gonna do what it needs to do to survive. Because I was so programmed, so fixated on people are not gonna meet my needs, even when I would consciously understand that, I would still find my way around that and get to the point where I'm still meeting other people's needs. And when it comes to, well, what is it that you need? My mind is so blocked off and disconnected from my body that I didn't even know what it was, because my mind would be so all over the place. It'll be like, but I can't really need that because I understand that this person's going through this. Yeah, but I can't need that neither because, they tried. Yeah, well, I can't need that neither because I've been showing up this way. Now I'm switching up. Like, what's up with me? So you can see how the mind has used its power against me to keep me in my ego, to keep me in my old habits in my subconscious way. And that's taken a lot to really understand on a personal experience. It's taken a lot to understand that. It's in my heart of hearts, I've continuously connected with people. And when those connections shift, when I feel like I can't connect with them, I would feel this immense sense of guilt, because I would usually be at a point of burnout where I just have to separate from these people. And I would feel guilty because I didn't know how to explain it. I didn't know how to explain and say, I need time apart because these are my needs. I wasn't there yet. I just knew. It's like if you're in, I don't know who does underwater activities. I don't, but we're going to go with it. You're under the water, and let's say the instructor's like, can you still breathe? How's your oxygen levels? You're like, yeah, it's good. How are we now? Yeah, it's great. How are we now? Yeah, it's great. Great. Until you get to this point where it's not great anymore and all hell breaks loose. There was no warning. There was no nothing. It's just literally, I'm not okay. And that's usually my pattern. That was my pattern with my jobs. I have worked, overworked myself to burnout, because in the process I wasn't expressing my needs, because in order to keep the job, I thought that I had to go above and beyond and I had to meet the needs of the company. When it came to my relationships, my romantic relationships, my last relationship that I just had of 10 years, got to the point where my needs weren't being met. I didn't know how to communicate it. I communicated as best as I could, and I was met with resistance. I was met with being avoided. I was met with a lot of things that really hurt me. And literally my partner at the time, not taking away responsibility from him, but seeing it from a bigger picture, had to keep mirroring to me the issue at hand, which is, you've got to meet your own needs. You've got to have boundaries. You've got to set some shit in motion and stop trying to maintain a connection with me, my ex at the time, but instead you need to have a connection with yourself. And that has to be at all costs. I was not getting it. And then move on to another relationship, similar situation. I'm holding space for this person. I'm able to hear them and understand them. I did have a little more of like boundaries. I had a little more of knowing what it was that I needed and being more detached being more willing to lose the connection with them over me. But once again, as things started to get better, I found myself going back to my old patterns. And once again, my needs weren't being met, so this person wasn't meeting my needs. And it reminds me, I am the gatekeeper of my energy. I am the one who gives access of my energy to other people. And while it's really nice to think that everyone's deserving of my energy, that's not true. And I think as people pleasers, as those who may have experienced similar inner childhood experiences where they felt like they had to be hyper vigilant and anticipate other people's needs, those people who are highly sensitive and very empathetic are because they have had to train themselves, attune themselves to sense the room in order to survive. So they know, okay, confrontation's coming up, an argument's coming up. I got to be able to show up in a way that's harmonious so that I'm not losing love. For those people, we have to recognize that that is not normal. It's not normal. It's not normal. It's not good for us. And ultimately, it's not what the people we attract genuinely want for us. Now, I'm not saying go back to these people, but I am saying keep your heart open, right? Recognize your own patterns so that you can change and attract differently. Attract different versions of these people or attract other situations. So I want to get even more specific with connections, right? Ultimately, a connection it's like a connection is when two people or people meet one another's needs in that moment. That's how I perceive a connection. So for example, I have this desire to feel seen because I'm going through a really hard time right now. None of my family members get it. Everyone's taking me for granted, blah, 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 blah. I go to the park, I sit on the bench, I meet this stranger who sits with me on the bench and talks to me and sees that something is wrong, and I am exploding to them all of my hardships. Don't even know this person, but this stranger sees me, so there's a connection. There is a deep connection with this person in this moment because they're meeting a need, which is to feel seen and to feel heard. So that's what a connection is, right? And ultimately, if this person is helping me feel seen and heard, I'm doing something for them too, because they're still here to listen and to be there. Maybe it feels good for them. They need to feel needed. They need to feel like a good person who's giving and who's there for someone. So there's a mutual, it's reciprocity of needs, right? So there's a reciprocity of needs being met, which is creating a connection. The connection is allowing us to see one another. How my experience has been and what I've done since a child is I have this connection where I'm connected with this person. The connection can be maintained because at one point or another, they met my need, I met theirs. Then the needs started to shift. At first, my need was, I have to make people feel good so that I'm loved. That was my need. Their need was, I want to feel good, or I want somebody who's my friend who I can hang out with all the time. So here we are, best of friends, doing our thing. Not realizing that while they're openly expressing what it is that they need, naturally so, I'm finding that I'm not expressing my need. I'm not taking up space. I'm not communicating what it is that I need because I'm not even connected to it. So I'm like, okay, this person, for example, they need to feel heard, they need to feel seen, they need to feel like they have somebody who supports them. Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I need that too. But I don't know how to ask for that. I don't really know how to ask for that. Or they're not doing that for me when I have asked for it. It's okay. I'm going to go ahead and use my energy, this amazing, powerful life force that I have, and I'm going to make sure I meet their needs in order to keep the connection. We're going to make sure that the connection is still maintained because I'm going to meet their needs. Don't worry. And I'm going to use that very little bit of energy left to meet my needs. So when there's moments when we're not hanging out and I'm in my room, in my introverted space, reading through my Tumblr, reading books, doing what it is that I want, I am fulfilling myself. I am feeling fueled. But it's okay, because while I'm meeting my needs, I'm also still maintaining the connection. So for a long time, that really worked for me. It really did, because at this point, I had leveled up. I went from, oh my gosh, as a child, this child mindset that I have to be the good girl. I have to be the people pleaser. I have to be the sensitive person who can understand and see everybody's needs in order to receive love, in order to have my needs met. That was my thought process. Then after being hurt, after trying to do all of that and still not getting my needs met, I realized, fuck that. I'm going to be super independent. I'm going to meet all my needs. I need connection. I'm going to connect. I need pleasure. I need food. And I learned how to stop needing things from people. So I thought I hit the pinnacle. I thought I really did something. And it taught me that I had more power than I knew, which was great, that I didn't need people to a certain degree. But I wasn't realizing that there's another part of that, right? And the other part of it is connection. I want and need social connection. And I want and need people to meet my needs. I need an interdependence. While I learned how to be from codependent to independent, the full circle and the whole aspect is to be interdependent. And that means allowing someone to show up for you in addition to you showing up for yourself, and you showing up for them in addition to them showing up for themselves. So that level of interdependence, I wasn't there yet. And I had no idea that I wasn't there yet, because the subconscious mind, your inner child, she's sneaky. That little girl is sneaky. She's like, okay, yeah, but I know what works for us, big sis. This is what we're going to do. So because that was happening and I was trying to maintain these connections, I would split my energy. Most of my energy would go to making sure other people's needs are being met, that other people feel seen, because that felt good to me. I felt the love that I was needing. I felt being, like I was doing something good. And the other part of my energy was going towards compensating for the fact that I wasn't having my needs met in that connection. Where I struggled was, how on earth can I blame somebody for not being hypervigilant like me and super skillful when I'm not saying what it is that I need? How can I be mad? So I would literally just ride that train until I burned out. And then I would have to completely sever relationships in order to hear myself. Because at that point, my body was like, you're going to get resentful. You're going to get angry. You're going to get stressed. You're going to get bitter. And that was exactly what was happening to me. Exactly what was happening to me. And if those who follow like human design, that projector experience, it's often you need that invitation. You need to feel seen. You need to feel heard. You crave that. You need that because you're so good at doing that to other people. And once that started to click, there was still a part of me that was like, yeah, but I can do it on my own. I can do it on my own. But it's not how it works. It's not how it works. And I had to realize, let's give even more of a specific example. I'm dating a partner. I allow so much space for this partner to feel seen, to feel heard, to even speak on things and be vulnerable and honest, even when it's like, oh, that doesn't feel good to me. But I can understand it because I have such a great way of like seeing the bigger picture of things and not taking things personal. Then matters flip, and I am realizing like, oh, I'm feeling negative feelings about a situation or the dynamic of our relationship, and I bring that up. Now, instinctually, the reason why I would never bring it up is because it's like I knew that it's not going to be well received, and I don't want confrontation. So the childlike version of me is like, no, let's just keep harmony. You can meet your own needs. But I knew consciously that that's not going to work anymore. So I expressed how I was feeling, expressed that I felt disrespected, expressed that I felt angry, X, Y, and Z. And I was retaliated with what would almost feel like gaslighting, where someone is making you feel like you're not understanding, or that you're misinterpreted, or, oh, I have my issues too. And it made me realize, one, I do get to hold space and compassion. I'm not a huge, this is a narcissist versus empath. I get it. But at the end of the day, after we sit there and say, oh, I got a narcissist, then what? I like to have my power. I don't like to believe that there's just negative people out in the world who are going to screw my life over and I can't create a life that I want to live. No. So I'm always wanting to go further and say, okay, well, what is it that I need to do to not attract this shit or to not create more of this? What is it that I need to do? And I had to really, really, really get clear. First, it was acknowledging. I had to acknowledge what was happening, which was I feel upset. I feel angry. I feel disrespected, which is something that I did not do. And the inner child struggle and survival mode that I have is we don't get to acknowledge how we're feeling, because if we acknowledge how we're feeling, what is that going to do? We need to make sure everyone around us is safe and okay so that we can be loved. That's how she moves. So she automatically overrides her feelings and she disconnects from her body. So the first thing I had to do was I had to connect with my body and say, how does this truly make me feel? Ooh, I feel disrespected. Ooh, I feel mad. I feel angry. I feel annoyed. And then I had to show up in that manner, because me saying, okay, this is how I feel, now I'm just going to go ahead and handle it myself to maintain this connection, is me prioritizing this connection with this person more than myself. That can't happen anymore, right? And the best way to shift your subconscious and shift life is to actually act differently. So no matter how scary it is, right? No matter how terrified you are of confrontation, no matter how terrified you are of how this is going to show up, you have to tell your little child, girl, sit down. I got it from here. Whatever comes up, we're going to be able to maintain. So the other thing that I had to realize is, yes, I can continue to meet my own needs to maintain this connection. But one, like I said, I'm prioritizing this connection with someone else, meaning I'm looking at them as the power source of my happiness, my joy, my love, when in reality, I am the source of that power. So I need to really be prioritizing the connection with myself over anything, over anyone. I don't care who it is, mother, father, brother, sister, cousin, friend, anybody. You must always prioritize yourself. That is not a selfish thing. It is self first. It is selfful. It is soulful. It is necessary. I just want to put that out there. On top of that, I had to sit back and think. My mom always used to say, education is power. No one can take that away from you. And then I started to couple that with knowledge of self is powerful. And when I really know how I'm showing up and I really know how things are affecting me, I get to move with intention. I get to move with decisiveness and direction. And I sat there and I said, I literally spend the majority of my time, inner work, mental health, well-being. That is my energy, that is my field, that is my career, that is my life. I spend a lot of time showing up intentionally for people. I show up with love, I show up with care, I show up with compassion and awareness of how I'm affecting other people. So I spend all of these hours doing that. I'm take the time to be very reflective and introspective with myself so that I can do better. I intentionally put myself in situations that are going to elevate me. So health is important to me. So I really take the time to listen to my body. If my body wants something, I give it to her. If she needs to move, I move. I really try to honor that. And I'm continuously learning how to do that. Well, I had to remember that the feelings, right, that I'm experiencing anger with this person. I'm experiencing disrespect. I'm experiencing a sense of being overwhelmed and unsafe. Do I feel that at home? No, because I've set up my home and my space in a way that makes me feel good. Do I feel that with my health? No, because I work out and I eat what I need to eat. I do what I need to do. Okay. So why on earth is this one situation creating, or I'm now subjecting myself, because this is a choice, I'm subjecting myself to be in a emotional, physical sense that's not healthy for me? That doesn't make sense. Why would I subject myself to people or things that do not make me feel good? I am valuable and I am worthy of feeling good. And I know this because I spend time doing inner work. I spend time trying to make my life easier. I spend time working out and taking care of my body. So why would I go backwards and allow myself to be subjected to people who are disrespecting me, overwhelming me, not meeting my needs? And even if they don't know that, it's on me to say, boundary, this is what I need. You don't get to do that. Sorry, no. And what is the consequence? When you cross my boundary, when you don't meet my needs, you lose connection to me. My fellow introverts, my fellow empaths, projectors, highly sensitive people, anyone in between. Your energy, your space, what you bring to the table, that is something that no one should have access to unless you are willingly giving it to them because you feel good. It's almost like a mind-blown thing, right? And it's just so crazy because once that clicked, the guilt melted away. I would feel guilty for choosing myself over other people. That melted away. The confusion, well, I don't want to be a harsh, mean person to people, but I don't want to neglect all that stuff started to melt away. And it made me appreciate even more. Like, I remember when I started to do this, reestablishing relationships, and one of them in particular, which is like my best relationship, is with my mom. As I was getting older, she's getting older, our relationship dynamic is starting to shift. I'm a grown-ass woman, she's a grown-ass woman. I'm no longer a child that she has to raise in that sense. Now she's my spiritual, wise confidant, and I get to be that for her too. And at one point in time, the things that we used to do together weren't fitting. I'm a very, when I don't want to be bothered, I don't want to be bothered, right? When I need my space and time, my body is so clear with me that I just have to honor it, and I need everybody else to honor it too. I will show back up with you and I will be fully present and open and endearing with you, but I need you to respect my time away. My mother wasn't like that, right? So there was a lot of energy that she was putting on me and wanting to show me and needing kind of like almost this sense of needing to feel validated from me, right? And I would struggle. I would struggle because I would feel this guilt. How on earth can I want to not be bothered by this woman who's my mother, who takes care of me, who goes above and beyond for me? How on earth can I tell her no? But I had to. No matter how much we would lose the connection, and that loss of connection was resistance, disconnection, passive aggressiveness between us, a little bit of just that, oh, she got some nerve, you know what I mean? Like, it would be that kind of thing. But over time, as we continued, as I continued to honor myself, and she vice versa continued to honor herself, we were able to come back and be two whole beings that are present and actually listening to one another, actually hearing each other, actually saying, oh, I'm noticing that this is what you need. Let me show up in that way. And the connection came back so much stronger. And I adore my mother, and I adore so many other amazing people in my life where we've been able to do that. But I had to learn how to know what my needs were. And a part of knowing what my needs were was acknowledging that my needs weren't being met. And that was one of the things that I was not doing. I was not acknowledging that my needs weren't being met. So I couldn't even tell you what I needed. I think the other thing too, when I think about just being a child, it makes so much sense how I'm not going to acknowledge my needs, because as a child, it doesn't resonate. I did not see meeting my needs as something that I could do, right? Because as a child, we don't have that power. We don't think we have that power. So we rely on our parents, our caretakers, society all around us. These are the gods. Those are the powerhouses. So because I assumed and just knew that I didn't have the power, there was no reason for me to sit here and acknowledge that my needs weren't being met, because I had to survive. I had to do what I needed to do to get my needs met through other people, right? So that was a space that harbored a lot of denial, self-denial, escapism, right? Where you just kind of escape from your reality, imaginative states where you're just imagining and disassociating from reality so that you can find some kind of relief and peace. And if I'm being 100% truthful, this is where manifesting was not in my favor, at least the way that I don't know if you want to call it mainstream, but the way that those are interested and you look on YouTube and things, how they were explaining it didn't serve me, because it only was another tool to disassociate from my reality, to not accept my reality, and to be in denial, and to basically put my power in things outside of me. So it humbles me. It almost breaks my heart when I think about this, because I just look through so many instances in my life and I'm like, oh my God, you poor baby. Like, damn. I see what you were doing. I see how you were just showing up in the best way you can. And because I can see that within myself, I really do see that in so many people. Even the people that I interact with who have hurt me or who have not met my needs, like I see that we're all really showing up the best way that we can. With that being said, it's even more pivotal, even more important for you to show up authentically and to own who you are and honor yourself and value yourself, so that you can become that beacon of light who meets your needs, fills your cup up, and then also can be an accurate mirror to those people who need to get their shit together, honestly. So, this was very long-winded, but I really, really hope this resonates with you, especially if you identify with any of these tags that I've mentioned. I really want you to know that you can have amazing connections with people while also having your needs met, while also feeling safe, seen, and recognized. First and foremost, recognize that your needs aren't being met. Give yourself the space, give yourself the acknowledgement. You're deserving of that. You get to acknowledge and honor yourself and say, my needs are not being met. Secondly, recognize that you get to speak up and ask for what it is that you need. And you do that in a way that resonates and feels good to you. Sometimes it may just be energetically putting up a boundary where people can feel that. Sometimes it's distancing yourself from a person. Sometimes it could be speaking to that person and really opening up to them. Everyone is at a different level. So some things are easier to do, some things are not, but you do what you have to do for yourself. Recognize your needs. And ultimately, the last piece is, once you've recognized your needs and identified what it is that you need, be willing to prioritize your connection with yourself, your needs, your health, mental well-being, and physical well-being. Be willing to put that first before any connection with anyone, because that is super important. Super important. Don't think, oh, it's no big deal, I can meet my own needs. Yeah, no, that's not how it works. It's not how it works. You get to have your needs met by those who love you and care for you, and give them that opportunity to do that, right? So that you are not holding pain in your body, and then your body has to show up in a physical ailment. It has to show up in a disease to really get you to slow down and look. So with that being said, I'm so grateful for you all listening to me, holding space for me, and I hope that you have an amazing weekend. And until next time, love you all. Bye.